أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ. We gave him 2 eyes. We gave you sight. You don't think we can see you? We gave you vision. We created vision. We gave you the ability to see. And we've limited your seeing because we see everything. But we just wanted to let you know what you can see, we can see everything. So you can see some things, we can see everything. وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ. And we gave him a tongue and 2 lips. Because if you have a tongue without lips, you can't talk. If you have lips without a tongue, you can't talk. That's what you need to talk. 2 lips and a tongue. Lips are very important. They're an amazing gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the lips. And Allah put like so much delight in language, but also in love and in kissing and all those things. Is the lips and tongue. It's all, what gifts Allah gave him, the lips and the tongue. Do you know? أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ لِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ. We gave you a tongue and lips, and look at what you enjoy. You can تُعَبِّرُ عَنْ نَفْسِكَ. You can say what you want, what you need. You can kiss your spouse, get pleasure, all those things. We gave you that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهَدَيْنَاهُ النَّجْدَيْنِ. And we guided you down the 2 roads. We showed you these 2 roads. There they are, right in front of you. 2 roads, khair and shar. Khair is the right road. You come to a fork in the road. One goes right, the other goes left. The right road is the difficult one, going uphill. The left one going downhill. Now, most people, they come to the road and they see the uphill one and they see the downhill one, and they're going to the same place. They're going to the same place. They're both going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from where you started. So most people, they'll say, oh, that's an easy road. I'm going to go down that road. Because easy. Shahwa, your appetites. حُفَّتَ الْجَنَّةُ بِالْمَكَارِهِ. We surrounded paradise with unpleasant things. وَحُفَّتَ النَّارِ بِالشَّهَوَاتِ. And we surrounded the hellfire with pleasant things you desire. That's the test. So Allah showed these 2 roads. One's an easy road, the other is a difficult road. The problem is, when you get to the end of those 2 roads, there's another journey. If you took the hard road on the first part of the journey, the second part is really easy. It's so much easier. But if you took the easy road on the second one, it's a disaster. And there's a sign. When you come up to these 2 roads, the one says, the first part of this is really difficult, but then it's really easy for infinity. And then it says on the other one, the first part of this road is really easy, but then it's really difficult for infinity. So the aql, they did a test in a social science. This was a test they did. They took children at 5 years of age and they offered them 2 cookies now. Right? They said, you can have a cookie now, or if you wait 10 minutes, I'll give you 2 cookies. Seriously, this was a test they did. And then they followed for 20 years these kids. And they found consistently that the children that deferred gratification were far more successful in the world than the children that wanted instant gratification. I mean, it's an amazing study that somebody devised to think of doing it. But that's the whole secret right there. It's about people that want it now. كَلَّا بَلْ تُحِبُّونَ الْعَاجِلَةِ. You want this immediate gratification. وَتَذَرُونَ الْآخِرَةِ. And you put off what's coming later. It's just like this country is borrowing. One day the debts fall due. You can't just keep borrowing. But they don't want to think about 20 years from now. 20 years from now, my child will be 23 years old. That's not far away. So he's going to inherit all of the mistakes of this generation because all they wanted was the quick way. Print up paper money and just keep borrowing money and keep borrowing money. That is what human beings do. They want instant. They don't want to put off. They don't want to think about what's coming down the road. So that's what Allah says. He guided the 2 roads. And one of them, He says, فَلَقْتَحَمَ الْعَقَبَةِ. Won't you go up the steep ascent? This steep road. It's difficult in the beginning, but the beauty of this road is like in Dante's Purgatorio. He wrote a book about the mountain of Dunya, climbing up this Mount Purgatorio, which is getting beyond the 7 deadly sins. And on that mountain, what he said is, the mountain, unlike other mountains, it gets easier as you go up. Most mountains, it gets harder as you go up. But this mountain gets easier as you go. Initially, it's really difficult. But as you move up, and that's the spiritual path. Al-Khalil said, قَلَّ مَنْ أَبْصَرَ ثُمَّ قَلَّ مَنْ أَرَادَ ثُمَّ قَلَّ مَنْ سَلَكَ ثُمَّ قَلَّ مَنْ وَصَلَ. How few people see the path. And from those who see it, how few people desire it. And from those who desire it, how few people actually set out on it. And from those who set out on it, how few people arrive. Because it's arduous. It's a difficult journey. And so that Allah is saying, won't they try the steep ascent? وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْعَقَبَةُ. What will convey to you what this steep ascent is? I mean, the really quick way to God. If you want to get there quickly. فَكُّ رَقَبَةٍ. Freeing the prisoner. Freeing the bondsman. Freeing the person in slavery. And this isn't just slavery like physical slavery. This is slavery, people that are enslaved to their desires. People that are enslaved to their lowest nature. People that are enslaved to dunya. It's freeing those people. That's the work of the prophets. They're here to free the slaves. To make you a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To free you from being a slave of yourself. That's their whole reason for existence. They're not here for any other reason. The Prophet ﷺ went to God. He was in the presence of God. But he came back. Not because who did he come back for? He didn't come back for himself. He was with God. He came back for humanity. That's why he came back. He didn't come back for himself. That was it. He'd reached the pinnacle. He was right there in the presence of God. مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى. His mind didn't belie what he was actually experiencing. He was in the presence of God, divine presence. And he came back for people to help them, and he gave all this incredible guidance. You know, Muslims look at the Jews and all these verses in the Quran about how the Jews turned away from God and God gave them all this guidance and they left it and then all this punishment came to them. They think they're talking about the Jews. That's just talking about people that are given guidance and leave guidance. I mean, you want to know why the Muslims are in the situation they are? Read the Quran. Read what happened to the previous communities who were given guidance and turned away from the guidance. Look what happens to them. And don't say we weren't forewarned. So, وَإِطْعَامٌ فِي يَوْمٍ ذِي مَسْغَبَةٍ. Feeding on those difficult days. You know, days of hunger. When people are hungry. Giving them nourishment. And again, that's a spiritual meaning as well. Teaching people. Nurturing their souls. Giving them something. There's so many people out there just dying of hunger. Spiritual hunger. Real hunger. I mean, they're spiritually dying of hunger. If you could see their spiritual souls, you see their corpulent bodies. The reason their bodies are so fat is because their souls are starving. If you could see, if the veil could be lifted and you could see the spiritual reality, you'd see skeletons walking around. Outside, I guarantee you, I'm not making this up. You would see people walking around like Auschwitz survivors. That's their spiritual state. If there was spiritual disability, nobody would be working. No, seriously. If they had spiritual disability, nobody would be working. They'd all be on spiritual disability insurance. Because that's the human condition right now. Go out there and look at it. So Allah is saying, you want to know how to get quickly to God? Feed starving people. That's why Sahaba, they were out there spreading this deen. They wanted the quick way to God. They wanted to get there. And they were like, this, I can do it by this. Go out and feed people. And they did it physically. That's a good thing to do. But the spiritual feeding of people, right?